Okay, we're here at the Imagine Books once more in Weymouth, and I'm talking to Julie Musk about her new book, lesser known Weymouth, published by her own Roving Press. Can you tell us what makes lesser known Weymouth different than any of the Weymouth books?
Well, we set up Roving Press a couple of years ago as a publishing house to publish local interest books. So that's what we do. And with the lesser known guides, they're a little bit different and special because they look at places in a lot of depth. So for instance, the first book I wrote was lesser known Swanage, where I visited the town on many occasions and I spoke to local people about what goes on in Swanage and got a real kind of locals feel for the place.
Right.
And it did very well for us. It's been out a couple of years now and sold well. So I'm carrying on with the series, and Lesser Known Weymouth is the second in the series. And again, it took me a couple of years, to be honest, to put it all together, because obviously Weymouth is quite a big place. There's a lot going on here.
Sure.
It's got a lot of history, and there's a lot of exploring to do. So it takes a while because I tend to interview people and get it from the horse's mouth rather than looking up things and researching myself. Although that comes into it as well. So in the book there's a lot of interviews with people, and it's their own words about what they're doing in Weymouth, whether it's the crab fishermen or the divers or the people that work at RSPB, Radipole Lake, to give a real kind of locals flavour to the books.
Right. Have you found any interesting stories? You know, that
Absolutely,
you could
yeah.
tell
Yes.
us?
I mean, one of the things I picked up on was obviously Weymouth's got a fantastic, really fascinating history, and there's a lot of good history books out there on Weymouth already. So I didn't want the book to be wholly history,
Right.
but of course it's part of the story.
Sure.
And just as an example, this little old church here at St Anne's in Radipole has a druid altar outside the front door, and that's where visiting foreigners would come, possibly to offer thanks to their gods, because they weren't from around here.
Right.
And following on from that, I met the head druid in Temple, who runs Sergeant Bun on Lane House Box, which is a little bakery, and I happened to be interviewing him for the book as well. He told me all about the Dorset Grove, and that was something that I just hadn't really anticipated covering, but it's there in the book. And the other thing about this church is that it's got a lot of shipwreck victims buried there,
Right.
as has White Regis, the Church of All Saints. In fact, that's taken a lot of the Kimberlins, the people who are not native to Portland. Portland wouldn't take the shipwreck victims, so they were all buried there in White Regis. And the Earl of Abergavenny was a famous wreck of 100 years or so, 200 years ago. And it's you see a lot of references to the Earl of Abergavenny, one of which is on the old stone pier. You can walk out to the stone pier and there's this plaque with part of a poem on it, which is written by William Wordsworth, because William unfortunately lost his brother John, who was on the ship.
Right.
So William wrote this lovely moving poem, and you can go and see that on the stone pier. So sort of special little things like that, and it all kind of links up. It's a bit like a jigsaw puzzle, putting this book together. Another thing I found out was the Friends burial ground up there on the Noath,
yeah.
just down from Noath Tavern, and that's got a lot of history to it. But Dave Allen here is a great guy. He takes you out on tours. He does various tours around town, principally for visitors, but it's good for locals as well. He's got a lot of local knowledge.
Right.
And he took us on the Haunted Weymouth tour, and he was telling me about the number of spectral lights that have been seen in this particular vicinity. And when I looked into it a bit more, again, there's a few shipwreck victims from the Earl of Abergavenny buried there. There's a little girl that was on the ship, and also Thomas Hardy has strong connections here, and he wrote about a couple of German cavalrymen. I think they were used to stay in the Red Barracks, which is just down the road from the burial ground, and they were homesick for Hanover, and they saw a blue light in this burial ground, and they thought it was a sort of sending them home light, and they got on a little boat, a little ferry boat, but unfortunately were picked up, brought back, tried for desertion and found guilty, and shot. And he wrote, Thomas Hardy wrote this, again, this lovely sort of short tragedy based on this story, which is a real, you know, it's got a real element of history to Weymouth here. And Thomas Hardy, being the apprentice of a local architect, he lodged in Whippleton Street, and you can go for a walk around there, and there's a plaque on the wall where Thomas Hardy once lodged. So again, it's piecing together all these little bits of history which have built up the story of Weymouth today, which I find fascinating. But it's also much more than that. It's talking to people today, so it's a contemporary look at Weymouth.
Right.
And it's talking to people who are living here now who are involved in Weymouth. For instance, I spoke to Katrina Baker, who is doing a cross-channel swim. And she's not the first, of course, but she's under training with Tom Watch, who's an 80-year-old. He's been training cross-channel swimmers for decades, and you know, she trains by sea swimming in and around the bay, and she's hoping to do a cross-channel swim. I think she might even have done it by now. And of course, bay swimming is a big thing here. You've got two special events of the year: the Christmas Day swim, the Harbour Swim, and the British Heart Foundation does one as well. And there's a core of people who regularly swim in the sea here. There's the Newton Cove Rinkleys, as they're called. You swim out of Newton Cove. So it's finding out little things like that as well. And if you go down to Newton's Cove, you might see an old guy called Mac who's been swimming there for years, and I talked to him, and he's quite a local character, and you often see him surrounded by birds because he's been going down to Newton's Cove for years, and he feeds the birds, and they come to him, and they land on him. He's got his favourites, he's named, you know. So there's little stories like that which I think are kind of make the place special.
Yeah. So, is there a website that people can go to have a look at the press in this book?
Certainly, yes. It's Roving Press. It's www.rovingpress.co.uk, and all our books have a book page devoted to that particular book, so you can see all the contents and a snippet of an extract from inside the book of pictures and things, so you can get a good feel for the books and see if you'd like to buy them. So you can buy them direct from the website, but also here in Weymouth, in Imagine Books, in St Albans Street, or Flag Street as it's known locally. Yeah. Come in here. Anne's got all our books as well, and she's got a great range of local books.
And the price is?
It's £10.99.
£10.99.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's full colour. It's 160 pages, so it's you're getting quite a lot for your money, I think.
Yeah.
And the other thing it has, which I think is useful, are 6 walks in the back of it. So you can take the book out with you and go exploring. That's the idea. You go around the back streets. You know, really, you don't need a guide with you. Take this.
Right.
And I also wrote it for young people as well. So there's quiz questions with each walk. You can take it out and keep the children entertained by getting them to answer or look at the quiz questions, and the answers are in there. And every walk has a map as well. So
where did the photographs come from? Did you?
I took virtually all the photographs myself. I had to come back here on numerous visits to either talk to the right people or to get the photographs done.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is it available through Amazon as well? Or?
Yes, you can buy it from Amazon. Yes, no problem. So anybody, anywhere can get it.
Okay, anywhere in the world.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, well, thanks for the interview, and I'll put a link on the video page to Roving Press.
Thank you.
All right, thanks for the interview. Thanks.